Welcome back, friends. You're just in time for the Johnny Brew Show.
What's going on, everybody? My name is John Brookhagen, host of the Johnny Brew Show, and welcome to part 2 of this Dueling CCRP meeting episode. It's been very exciting so far. In part 1, we took you through the meat and potatoes of both of the meetings. Now in part 2, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. First of all, we're going to find out who wins the chairmanship of the old CCRP. And you're going to get those exclusive interviews that you only get here on the Johnny Brew Show with the new CCRP. And a special thanks to Rick Charles, who is he is my only other talent here on the Johnny Brew Show. And he did a great job for me back in May when I took a few weeks off. I'm going to be taking a few weeks off sometime soon, and he'll be taking over for me as well. And being that Jessica Hanson has already agreed that she's going to be coming in and sitting down with us for about an hour to get to know her better. Mike McDonald is going to come in and sit down with us before his upcoming chairman election for the NVGOP. You might have seen our episode with Michael B. Jack. He's going to be running against Michael McDonald in the NVGOP chairman race. So Michael B. Jack was on last week. Michael McDonald will also be on, if not next week, then probably the week thereafter. And we just had Jesse Law on the show. So that's why I brought Rick Charles in to take care of these quicker interviews. But he goes more in depth than your typical sideline reporter. So without further ado, we'll get right to the old CCRP chairman election runoff results after we hear from the Nevada political director, the NVGOP executive director, Jessica Hanson. Play tape.
Hi, Rick Charles back with you for Johnny Brew and the Johnny Brew Show. He told me to say that. And we are still here at the Clark County Central Committee, and we are talking to Jessica Hanson, the NVGOP Executive Director. And you have been working your tail off tonight, making sure everything was good for the Nevada GOP. And what do you think of the way this thing went down tonight?
I am so encouraged by the turnout tonight. I mean, historically, going to Clark County Republican Party meetings, we have not had this many people that wanted to participate. Exactly. So, I mean, what would you say, 500 plus people?
I'm still saying 6 to 7.
6 to 7?
I never got the exact number. Did anybody get the exact number yet?
You can probably hear in the background, too. I mean, the enthusiasm.
And this is a breakout session after all the voting and everything.
I mean, it's after 9 p.m.
Yeah.
People are energized. They want to be involved. They're excited with this new board, the new leadership. And us with the state party, we are so excited to be working with a functioning Clark County Republican Party that wants to work to elect Republicans up and down the ticket.
And this is my first time in the Central Committee.
Okay.
I have been a member of the party since I came here it's been 16 years. I came here in 2005, and it's the first time I've been a member of the Central Committee of the the Republican Party here in Clark County, because I am so tired of the tired party that this county party had become, and it needs a change. And we needed some pickup, and we needed to get a fire under us. And from what you've seen here tonight, don't you think that's exactly what we've got, and we've got the right people in the jobs now?
Absolutely. And I think I want to talk a little bit about the youth engagement, right?
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
It's so important.
I mean, I'm 57, and I feel like I'm one of the old guys in the room.
no, you're one of the younger, but we need to get more young people involved, right? And I think that starts with having a functioning meeting that has action items attached to them and has a way to actually get involved. And that's what I loved about these breakout sections tonight. You could actually go, you could pick what you're interested in, you could learn about how to get
Steering
involved.
committees is what I'm interested in.
You could learn how to get involved. You could get plugged in. There's not infighting. It's not a stuffy room full of people who think that they're elite and turn their nose up at you. I mean, I've been to other meetings where the youth, you know, they want to be welcomed. They want to be embraced. It's kind of a scary process. One, just to be a Republican.
Videographer Rob is going like that. Yeah.
Just to be a conservative youth. I mean, that's a scary process to begin with. But then to come to a meeting and not be welcomed and not be embraced, I think that's another issue. But tonight, I think everybody was warm welcome. They were plugged into where they wanted to be plugged in, and they had a chance to get involved.
Absolutely. And there's no better place to be involved than in this county where there are so many young people who've been basically disenfranchised by the Democratic Party. And look, they, especially now, these kids that are graduating, the kids that are 18, 19 years old now, they're graduating and they're going to go,
Right.
What do? I didn't learn anything the last 2 years because they had me stuck in Zoom school.
Right.
And they're going to go, they failed me.
Yeah.
And they're not going to look at the Republican Party that failed them. They're going to look at the people like Steve Sisolak. They're going to look at the people like Dr. Jesus Jara. They're going to look at the people who failed them, and those are the Democrats. And we need to be there as the Republicans and say, you know what? We got your back.
Absolutely.
And we are going to help you get through it. We are going to help you get what you need to know learned and push them through it and get them going into whether it's college or whether it's trade school or whether it's an internship or whatever it is they're trying to, an apprenticeship, whatever it is they're looking to do. We need to be supporting these kids that are graduating this year, next year. The kids, I mean, we have two kids that have lost 2 years of schooling. I know, I have 6 grandchildren in the Valley, 5 of whom are still in CCSD.
Yeah. I mean, the anecdotes that we hear are heartbreaking throughout the state when it comes to COVID regulations, especially with K through 12. I mean, just looking at Clark County, the suicide rates in our high schools, it's horrible.
Yes,
looking at the students who were A+ students who dropped down to D students because of online learning and education, it's really detrimental. And then you factor in the students who would go to higher education based on sports scholarships and things of that nature.
They didn't get to play.
They didn't get to go to their senior prom, right? It's really depressing. And I think one of the talking points that I hear when it comes to schooling and education with higher education is a lot of youth are identifying with the Democrat Party or the Socialist Party because they want free tuition. And yes, in an ideal world, does that sound great and lovely? Sure, until they're telling you that you can only study X, Y, and Z if the government funds your education.
And X, Y, and Z, the certificate's going to be worth nothing when you get to the real world.
Exactly.
And then they find out.
The Republican Party is the party that stands up for you. They're the party that believes that you, as an individual, have your own choices. You know the choices that are best for you. You know how to spend your money best, and you know how to live your life best. And really, that's the individual responsibility and liberties that we believe in, the core of the Republican Party.
Just remember, if you're watching this right now and you're a high school senior, once you get your initial bachelor's, just remember that an MS, that master's is more of the same, and PhD just means piled higher and deeper. So unless you get a useful degree that actually means something, it ain't worth the paper it's printed on. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you being with us.
No, I thank you very much, Jessica, for talking to us, and good job, Rick. You can see Rick, I'm trying my best. I definitely have some opinions that I try to keep to myself regarding the old guard versus the new guard. You could tell Rick wears his emotions a little bit more on his sleeve, and he's thrilled with the new guard. You could see him, you could see that exuberance, and you'll see it some more. But great job. And let's get now to the moment you've all been waiting for, the results of the runoff for the chairman of the old CCRP. Take it away, Mr. Silberkraus and Gonzalez. Play tape.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We do have results. Oh, sorry, let me quiet that phone. I apologize. So we do have final results. I will turn it over to, no, Secretary. Okay, so the results are as follows. Senator Kerry Buck with 55 votes and Mr. David Crete with 51 votes. Senator Buck has 51.9% of the vote. And as such, she wins the election. With that, we will move on to certification unless there's any objection. Mr. Secretary, your recommendation.
So there you go. You notice Carrie Ann Buck, if you watched episode 1, or part 1 of this episode, Carrie Ann Buck had won the first round 55 to Dave Crete's 52 to Eddie Hamilton's 4 with 1 abstain. The second vote, it was Carrie Ann Buck 55. She maintained exactly what she got, 55. Dave Crete lost a vote, went down to 51. And then obviously they were the only 2 people. I again did indeed abstain. But so it sounds like the Dave Crete supporters didn't stick around, or at least one of them didn't. And then the Eddie Hamilton supporters did not vote in the runoff, or however that ended up working out. But there you go. Surprising. Carrie Ann Buck, you know, you got to remember that this is half of the Clark County Republicans, right? Half of them are over at the new CCRP meeting at the Ahern, and Carrie Ann Buck is barely getting 50% of the old CCRP vote. So, you know, she's definitely got some work to do. Her popularity after a sensational, heroic Senate session where she was, you know, one of a handful of Republican senators fighting against like a 75-80% Democratic, you know, Senate collection. She did great. She voted very conservative, one of the most conservative voting records in this past legislative session. She didn't bend or give, even though I'm sure she was given offers to throw a couple of votes their way so that way she could buy some favors, and she refused to. After a great performance in the Senate, Carrie Ann Buck is not a very popular Republican. And that doesn't make sense. This whole CCRP thing has absolutely tarnished her image among conservative voters. And she's going to have to get out there and fix this. She could start by sitting down next to me and talking about it. All right. Now, as I was just saying, the Johnny Brew Show tries not, or does, says he doesn't, take sides in Republican versus Republican races. So I try really hard to hide my exuberance for our next guest. He's one of my favorites. This is Rick Charles talking to Tony Lane, who is running for House of Representatives against Carolina Serrano and Sam Peters in the primary, and I'm sure a couple other people are going to throw their hat in that race. But he says things are going very well for him, and I hope that is the case. This is Mr. Tony Lane and Rick Charles. Play tape.
With Tony Lane, and we are, as you can hear in the background, at the Clark County Republican Central Committee meeting, and this is the first of what should be many of the new Clark County Republican Central Committee meetings. I was made a member tonight, finally, for the first time, and glad to know that this thing is finally settled out, it seems, Tony, huh?
Yes, I'm a new candidate, you know, and once I came, one moment I entered the race, a lot of people said that there are some things going on within the party that we need to fix and we need to get straight. And now that I hear that it's over and Jesse Law has been crowned the chair, we can move on and get this thing started and get to winning elections.
You say you're a candidate. Tell us what you're running for.
I'm running for candidate. I'm a congressional candidate in CD4 to unseat Stephen Horsford. You know, it's time. He's been in office too long, and we need new leadership.
Well, I think one day was probably too long for Steve Horsford. However, how do you plan to unseat him, and what will you do differently? Because that's what everybody wants to know. We know the difference between Stephen Horsford and anybody who's conservative, but what are you going to do differently from the jump if we elect you, and we plan to try?
Well, I can call him out on his debacles. I mean, he sided with everything that the radical left, that Joe Biden has done to tear up this country. It's been a disaster. People are aware of our education system. They see that we've been 47th and 48th, consistently having failing school districts. We have open borders currently right now. Our amendments are at stake. People want this country back. We want to make Vegas great again, Nevada great again. That is the reason why I know that I'll unseat Stephen Horsford. They're tired of tyrants in office, and he's been following that same line.
Let's talk about the school district. I happen to have 5 grandchildren that are in the failing Clark County School District. Their grades, atrocious last year, and this year they're having a lot of trouble picking up because they were, of course, promoted into the next grade.
Yes.
Just automatically, didn't matter. Last year they went to school for exactly 3 weeks at the end of the school year, which is ridiculous. They tried the Zoom stuff. I mean, it wasn't even Zoom. It was some other form of distance learning from home. They got nothing out of it. They kept coming to me, Papa, we don't know. Papa, we don't get it. Papa, the teachers don't help us. Papa, when we try to get the teachers to help us, they get interrupted.
Yes.
What are we going to do to fix what happened, and how do we get that year and a half or year, almost 2 years back for these kids?
It's leadership. Like I say, you know, when you have a government that runs everything on their mandates, they're over-abusing their power, you know, the socialist agenda, Marxist mindset. They're trying to indoctrinate our youth, of course. They're trying to teach critical race theory when we should be teaching critical math, critical English, critical reading with these failing grades and systems that we currently, you know, have. The egregious behavior, you know, of our teachers, and we have some good teachers. We have a lot of good teachers.
We have a lot of great teachers.
District. Yes, we really do.
Yes, we do.
And they're being put in these situations currently. So, like I said, we got to start somewhere, and our children are our future. And we definitely want to focus critically on English, math, reading, and science. We are not going to teach dividing and critical race theory and anything that, once again, will take us away from the beautiful American dream that we're currently living in right now.
Well, you know, what I hear from a lot of people that I know is, well, it's reverse racism. There is no such thing, in my opinion, as reverse racism. Racism is racism, pure and simple. I don't care if it comes from black, white, Latino, anybody. If you say something that another race is inferior, or another race is bad, or another race, I mean, Martin Luther King said it best. You know, you judge someone by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. You would agree with this?
I totally agree with that. If you see in the media today, you saw a comment was made from one of the reporters who said that the only reason why the female was missing or was big news was because she was white. That's the type of stuff we need to get rid of.
Right.
We need to get rid of all these divisive media people that are trying to, once again, hate everything that's American. Remember, you know, this America First agenda, we really need to focus on that. We need to get back to our constitutional values. It needs to be reread, not rewritten. And we love peace, like President Trump said, right? Peacefully.
Reread it, don't rewrite it. The Constitution.
Need to reread it. Every amendment's at stake. First Amendment, second, third, fourth with this administration. No amendment is safe.
Tony Lane, good luck.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Hope to see you replacing Stephen Horsford in the Congressional District 4.
Definitely.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Tony Lane. You know, again, if you don't know of Tony Lane, obviously he was on the Johnny Brew Show about 2 months ago. Please look that up and learn more about him and educate yourself about who Tony Lane is. He used to play for the UNLV Running Rebels as a basketball player, but he's done a lot since then, especially helping kids realize that, there's ways out of the city and there's opportunity for those who want to work hard. And Tony works really hard with our youth. He's really, really into education. So if education's something that's super important to you as a conservative, then you should definitely give Tony at least a look. All right, so moving on, we have the old CCRP continuing their meeting. We told you the results of the election, and we're eagerly awaiting to hear from Carrie Ann Buck. We haven't heard from her yet, and now Mr. Silver-Kraus is here to deliver a message. Play tape.
If you'd like to cast, you still can for we'll give it another 30 seconds, but it has surpassed the 50% threshold, and so I do declare the election certified. With that, and now that we've done the Central Committee as well, we move on to our bylaw revision. Mr. Secretary.
And then, I was waiting for Carrie Ann to speak, and even regarding this bylaw thing that's going on, they're moving to have sweeping changes across their bylaws so they could get more work done. And they were arguing about that. You could see that the old board of the old CCRP really wanted to push this through. I don't understand why Carrie Ann or one of the newly elected members didn't take over the meeting. We don't get to hear again from Carrie Ann, at least on what was left on the YouTube video. If I remember correctly from the Zoom call, the meeting went on for quite a bit longer, but you notice there was only about 10 minutes left of the YouTube video. Moving on now. So that was the conclusion of the old CCRP meeting. They did get through their election, and Carrie Ann has sent out a couple of cheerleading notices since then, saying that it's about time to get to work. So we'll see what happens in the coming weeks with the old CCRP under their new leadership, State Senator Carrie Ann Buck. And also, one thing to note, what happened to Byron Brooks? No word. I didn't notice him at the meeting. I did look through, but I didn't, memorize everybody was there. But I don't remember seeing Byron Brooks at the meeting. Obviously, he withdrew or didn't nominate himself for vice chair, even though he was on the ballot at the July 20th meeting. So that's interesting, to say the least. All right, so now we get to sit down with the chairman himself of the NVGOP, and he sits down with Rick Charles. This is Mr. Mike McDonald, trying to lend more credibility to the new CCRP. Play tape.
All right, I am with the one and only Republican chairman for the state of Nevada. He is Michael McDonald. I'm sure you all recognize him from the big smile on his face, especially after seeing the Clark County Republican Party actually come together and get a central committee together.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Got to make you feel good.
It really does. I mean, I haven't seen this type of reaction since Frank Ricotta, God rest his soul. Frank had, we grew this party back then under his leadership to about 1,000 plus members. It was active, people that are actively in the community. He had a vision, he had brought everybody together. It was great to see. And then watch what it dwindled down to over the last several years, especially the last couple of years. It's been sad. And then, we had this other group that was led by, Steven Silver-Kraus. He voted for the largest tax hike in the state. His right hand, Ed Gonzalez, who was he lobbies for the teachers union. These are all people that should be Democrats, not Republicans.
Right.
And now they're trying to lead this other party, if you will. They
Zoom school.
Zoom school.
They belong in Zoom school.
It's sad to see, rather than getting behind Jesse, who won legitimately.
Right.
They have a ruling from the judge today. The judge's order came out and said that Jesse is 100% the chairman. We gave all this stuff to the judge, that verified that. So it's, there's a lot. Like I said, there was almost 500-600 people here tonight.
I would guess right around 600 to 700.
It was amazing. It was a great night, and that just shows the difference. I mean, during the county convention, they had maybe 100+ people.
Yeah,
that's how pathetic it was. And then the last meeting that they held at the school, they barely had 100 people.
Oh, they had about 500 or 600 outside trying to get in,
right.
And they're all here tonight.
Yeah.
And
senior citizens, all mixed races. I mean, that's what this is about. It's about being inclusive. They want to make it exclusive, and you see they're having their little Zoom party, and it's not recognized. We've already made our ruling. The state's made their ruling. The RNC's backed that ruling.
The RNC.
The judge has already said that ruling is legitimate. So,
and we had people that what made me really proud and happy as a lifelong Republican, and I've been a Republican since, even before I was 18.
That's awesome.
I was born and raised a Republican in San Diego County, which used to be the most Republican county in the West.
Right.
But I grew up there, and I've never known color in my entire life. And here we had people standing up, nominating themselves to go to the state Central Committee, and proudly stating, "I am someone from another country who just became an American, and I proudly self-nominate." And we had people saying, "I am proudly black and self-nominating. I am proudly Latino and self-nominating." And this is the modern day Republican Party.
Right.
It is working class people. There are still rich white folks in the party, and there are the poor working class people in the party. And it doesn't matter, because we all want one thing, and that is freedom. We want the Constitution. We want America first, right?
And that's what you can't ask for that. You want everybody to have the opportunity. You want to make it better from the last time. I'm here with my sister. She's a backer of the president when he first started to run in 2015 when I was in the campaign, and she's actively involved in the community, actively involved in the party, and to see that her generation, we're very close, but to see her generation interact with our generation,
right?
It's great to see that. And then we have the younger generation, which is coming up, led by our executive director and our political director,
right,
to watch that type of movement. We cover the spectrum. And tonight, I think you saw there was a lot of people of color that got elected,
right,
which was great. And you see a lot of things happen.
I've always been extremely honest with my listeners and with viewers that at first I was not on the Trump train.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I was I hate to say this, I was a Rubio precinct.
Oh, really?
Honest to God. My son turned me around. My son said, "Look, Trump is the man." My son, who is now 33 years old.
God bless.
My son said, "Trump's the dude."
Yeah.
I said, "Oh man, I was never a Trumper. I was never that bad."
No, it's all about taste.
But
Places for ours,
then
it's the
when
same.
Trump started gaining momentum, I started watching his rallies.
Yeah.
And I said, "You know what? I've met this man," and I did. I've met him many times in Atlantic City and in New York, and because I used to do a poker broadcast.
So you know better than I do, yeah.
I did a poker broadcast, and I did at his casino in Atlantic City, and spent quite a bit of time with him. Interviewed him a few times.
Great guy.
And had dinner with him one time actually, and at the Taj Mahal in Atlantic City. And the man impressed me then, but as a businessman. And then I started watching his rallies, and I started thinking, this guy is the man.
Yeah.
He's going to do it, and I got 1,000% behind him. And I hate when people use over 100, but I really did. I got behind him.
But that's what's great. There was such a move. But I was with him from the beginning. And I liked everybody else, but he and I had a connection, and it was my friends Corey and Dave were running this campaign, and he said, "Why don't you involve?" I said, "Okay." So I signed up. I was ready to go, and I was the first RNC member. I was the first chairman nationally that got behind the president. And to watch where it went from there, as I mentioned, my sister and her generation, they got behind him, and it was just great to see that type of movement. And the message kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right.
And it was overwhelming to watch that wave hit.
It really was a gigantic wave.
But look at the difference. I can tell you, when we were in the Oval Office, right after the inauguration, he took office. There was reporters that were attacking him that day.
Yes.
That day, and then you put President Biden in the same situation. They're asking him, "Are you going to keep the drapes? What color are you going to have the drapes? Are you keeping the carpeting?" Totally opposite of what they attacked the president on. And I'm like,
They were calling for impeachment before he took the office.
Yep, they won.
And
It was sad.
it was incredible.
Yep.
But the thing that I wanted to say about when I was the precinct captain for Rubio, when I tried to get in touch with people in the Clark County Party to try to get support for what I was doing in my precinct, never got anyone to answer the phone, never got a call back, never got any support whatsoever from anyone. And I didn't even say the name Marco Rubio. I just said, I'm a precinct captain, I needed help. There was no help to be had. This party, these people, this central committee, did you see the amount
excitement?
of action and excitement and build up behind it?
Yeah.
We're in for a big
And people
time.
that aren't really, I mean, like my sister, she was the same way. She's like, I can't believe what's happening right now. She goes, to watch this type of energy, what's happening, compared to when she's been before, where there was the fights and, you know, Sajak was yelling, take your mask off. It was a joke. It was really bad. And to live through it, it's great. But to have everybody else's opinion, to see it and talk about it, is really what it puts the exclamation point upon where we can go right now. Where we can go from this day forward is up to everybody. Where do you, the experience you had, precinct captains, that's where you start to build it. That's where you start taking things back. To watch what Mr. Ahern has done for here, it's a lot to have that type of momentum going into this election cycle. Basically, we're given the tools now.
Steering committees, Jesse Law. Steering
That's
committees.
right.
Steering committees. We're sitting on a powder keg, Mike.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you very much for having me on.
All right, so there you go. Mike McDonald is got some ideas in uniting Nevada and turning it red, assuming he wins his election. We'll find out what happens. It would be quite the kicker if they get Jesse Law here in Clark County and then Mike McDonald loses, and then the fights will go on and on and on. But at the same time, we met Michael Jack last week. Super nice and qualified guy. So obviously I'm not endorsing either one of them, but I am excited that Michael McDonald will be joining us sometime soon to explain his platform and why he should be elected the chairman of the NVGOP. Rick Charles got to sit down also with Jesse Law, who just concluded the meeting. So without further ado, we're going to go to the Jesse Law interview. Play tape.
The man of the evening, the man of the hour, the man of the months now, Jesse Law is the chairman of the new and improved, much improved, Clark County Republican Central Committee, of which I am now a member.
Perfect.
Finally, thank goodness.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, this meeting was phenomenal.
Tell me about it. What do you mean? Tell me about it. Why was it phenomenal? What was your impression?
I have never seen a meeting go off as smoothly as this one did. And I've been member of Republican parties in 6 states.
Yeah.
And because in radio, I moved around a lot. And California, Minnesota, Iowa, Mississippi, Nevada now, and anyway, 6 states now.
Yeah.
And I've never seen a meeting where there weren't objections, where you didn't have to go down every call roll on everyone, put ballots in. Everything was done by acclamation. Everything was done by voice vote. Everything was so smooth. It was like everyone was in agreement and agreeance. It was everybody rowing the boat the same direction, Jesse.
So it's good that it sets a tone. My belief on that phenomenon is, there's a honeymoon period. But the thing is, the only reason why the group was coming out anyway, supporting all along in a very uncertain set of circumstances, was because we are sincerely trying to embody the will of that body. In other words, we're like a mirror of those who are showing up.
The people, you were mirroring the people who showed up.
Well, because otherwise, why are they coming here unless they're going to be empowered? And I know that there are basic or general disagreements. That's what this political process looks like. But the majority of folks that were coming in were looking for things like efficiency, being able to move forward and all that. And there's a bit of a honeymoon period in terms of a trust but verify. But if we continue to focus on like, what is it that this body would really want to accomplish, we're going to hit it out of the park each time.
I've lived here 16 years, and the one thing that I have seen lacking here is leadership through the entire time that I've been here. There were spurts and starts of leadership, but I think we can finally see a group that look like you guys are going to be leaders, and we need leaders but not dictators, which is what I think we saw with the last board.
You know,
and I know you don't want to slam the last board.
No, it's look, but there are some things that are realistic to discuss.
Correct.
If you have a group that doesn't know what they want to accomplish, and even if they ever did, they don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a group that is so petty that they want to prioritize fighting the parent organization and the state party, in fact, even so much fighting with the state party that they're willing to even undermine the Trump campaign's personnel and processes.
Correct.
That's what happened. What leads to that? A lot of insecurity about not knowing what to do, right?
Or not knowing if your name is going to be on the top line of the party. I think that may embody what the problem was, because I think they were just so willing to make sure their name was on top of that thing when it was printed in the paper or when it was talked about in the news.
Sure.
Because, I mean, I'll be honest, I interviewed Michael McDonald a little while ago. He's ecstatic. He is just so energized, and he and I both agreed we're sitting on a powder keg here and it's ready to blow and we're ready to go.
Yeah, so let's direct it. In fact,
right.
Again, like honoring your members' wishes is a very big part of having
leadership,
trust, right?
That's one word.
Having an understanding of what needs to happen in society is the next thing. If we behave in such a way, from the dais or whatever, and we get in this habit of addressing the concerns of the committee that is really a reflection on the society, and we start then turning our members outward to looking at what the needs of the society are to be met, we get to be the ones who are answering the call. Right now, sure, it can be said that elected officials in this state are not ambitious, they're not bold. And why would I say something like this? Societal problems, the likes of which that in our lifetimes we don't see anything like. And yet these guys have a mantle of authority, and they're not the ones who are taking the lead to answer the call of improving our societal challenges.
Our schools, the drug addiction
Think about
problem,
the powerlessness. So on
kids
each issue
that
you
are
list,
killing themselves. The kid, I mean, just the societal issues just in Clark County alone.
Yeah, but as you're listing them, I'm thinking about the suffering that goes through on each of those individual cases, or the fear and powerlessness of, say, a parent with a child in the school district. No ability to redress grievances.
I'm a grandparent with 5, and there's no ability.
Yeah, well, what if you have guys and girls who are just parents or grandparents, and they're in the other party, and with this one-party rule in Clark County, they want to pick up the phone and call these guys, but see, the only game in town is a Democrat. Why do they need to call anyone back and be held accountable or try to solve problems? Now, the only good news is that does, through all that pain and all of those problems that are absolutely happening real time, that does motivate those to act and get a solution out of it. And so, what is this organization? We see that as an opportunity for us to act, to capture, and to honor, right? Because if we want to be fakers and try to pretend like, well, if you just vote Republican, we need to be bold and ambitious and restore our republic. We need our families to understand that we want to fight for them, and it doesn't matter what party it is. We're fighting for them for what's right. And if we come in like that, I think we're going to turn some heads. I know that the group here was very big. I don't want anyone to come here unless we're providing a value add for them.
Right.
And so as we grow, I hope that's a testament that we're adding value to their experience on how to solve the problems they care about.
Well, I know that I can tell you that the family is, of course, where it all has to start. And if it doesn't start from the family and then start from family honoring country and making America first and taking it from there, family first, America first, building out from there, and basically going back to what was the Trump agenda and making that a local thing, we're not going to get anything accomplished. Which brings me to my next question. Because from what I saw in the last election cycle, and I'm not saying Trump, I'm saying in the election cycle locally, statewide, countywide, did we have steering committees? Was there such a thing? And please tell me that you have a plan for that.
Well, in terms of a plan for steering committees, I'd want to know what you seek to have them accomplish, because maybe you're just calling them steering committees and I'm calling them something else. Are you meaning
putting the right people in the right in the right election?
Oh, sure.
I mean, when we have someone right now, and I'm not going to get into names or personalities, I'm not going to do that. But when we have too many people running for senator, when one of those candidates would probably be a very, very good state senator or state representative, rather than trying to go for the gold in his first election.
Sure.
Can't we get a steering committee to talk to that person and say, look, it's too soon, it's too much, you may not be able to handle it, we can help you get into this election and we think you have a better chance of winning it. We already have a better candidate for the position you're going after. And I'm not talking about a specific person or a specific race.
Sure.
I just picked one.
So, my reaction to that, they have to have a compelling reason to think that what is being said to them matters. And while we have a rather robust state party with our state chairman and the kind of resources that are brought to bear that lead to expertise, boots on the ground, the whole thing. When you have...
And backing from the RNC from him,
Mr.
right?
Trump, yeah, absolutely. He's the longest serving member in the RNC. Like, he walks in those rooms and they're all friends with him. But when you have other counties seeking to undermine that for whatever petty reasons, what signal does that send to these candidates? And then, so what? Let's say we have a steering committee and they're like, okay, you're going to tell me and I'm supposed to respect your opinion. When we are solving a problem and we're talking about unity in these things, it's because there are symptoms of disunity that stretch right into what you're talking about, which include having guys that are with ego, and you're not going to catch them all, right? You're going to get candidates that they're just doing this as just for egotistical reasons.
Always.
But if you have a mature process and a process for candidate recruitment, and that becomes an established thing, well, all of a sudden you have a louder voice and a louder voice
and a deeper bench.
So, and a deeper bench. In fact, that's what it is. It's like anytime we do this stuff, it's like what happens in the next year? What happens in 2 years? What happens in 5 years?
Right.
The deeper bench. By the way, do I want to be the guy on that stage for the rest of my life? 2 years? Like 4 years? I want to see a group that gets so inspired, trained up, that they get their own vision and direction to want to go. And then it's like, hey, here are the keys. But there's some things that we must do, and it does include, so is there a plan for it? There's an emphasis on it. It's a training. My only plan by way of building a bench of candidates to go and run was to take what other states have done successfully to turn their states from blue to red. And that exists. I had a donor who talked to me about this, and he brought up Oklahoma. Now, this was years ago, but when it changed from blue to red, it wasn't by accident. It was also because they had somebody that was running candidate recruitment. And I'm like, what's that secret? Because I don't want to just put in my friends. Obviously, I wouldn't. So what did they do? And you learn from the successes of these other guys when you don't have the answer. That's what you do.
Right.
And if you don't know what to do, you ask experts what to do. Like that's just sort of the way it goes. And I think it's a shame that the group that was outgoing never thought of that. That they thought, I guess, too much of their own opinions. That they had to attack everyone else in order to justify their existence.
Well, I mean, right now we see that they're, and again, I don't like picking on specific people or personalities, but right now they're trying to run a state senator for their board, and it's because it's a friend of theirs, and to me that's just kind of crazy. That's not making a talent pool and a deeper bench. That's just going horizontally and actually a down move rather than, I mean, that is an absolute down vertical rather than an up vertical. You're not sweeping up, you're sweeping down and sideways, and it makes no sense.
I'll give you an example. Look, if the other group, I said this on another program on your network, if the other group is inspiring people by simply sending emails that slander those who they politically oppose.
Absolutely. I've done it. I've seen it.
If they want to hold meetings where it's like Zoom because we're afraid of COVID, and I'm like, are you even going to pretend to be Republican?
No, they're afraid of other people showing up.
I understand they want to control and rig the election. I understand, but the way they justify it, right? These are folks that lack imagination. They do things that's a great idea in those four walls.
Right.
That to the rest of us that aren't in that echo chamber, we're going, what's going to draw me to leave my kids home tonight and actually go invest time? Or maybe there's just something that they normally do on Tuesday and they sacrifice for this time. Is it for slanderous emails and a Zoom party? No. And that's the thing with getting Kerry, Senator Buck. It was a good idea at the time. In theory, you get somebody with some credibility to help a non-credible organization, a dead organization. Yeah. And yet, there were a lot of pieces missing. It was hundreds and hundreds of people that were left out of these meetings in order to rig an election. It was candidates that saw my victory even though I was locked out outside and pretending that didn't happen that way. That's a reality I don't want anything to do with. That's a reality I don't want to subject any of these people to. And that's
what
why
does it tell you when nearly 100 of their members showed up at this meeting tonight?
Yeah. Where's the inspiration? Look, cool. Continue your Zoom club. Maybe you'll grow your 100 members. But to do what? Are you going to go door to door via Zoom? Are you, what are you going to inspire donors? There are a lot of Zoom organizations out there. You don't seem really making waves, right?
No.
Instead, the waves that they're making is they're feeding a liberal narrative about disunity, this and that. What agenda does that actually serve? It is certainly not one to elect Republicans.
No.
And I'm not going to accept castigation or blame onto me as a man that was actually victimized by that stuff because they did lock me out breaking all those rules. I'm not going to accept some sort of blame for their behavior. Especially when, because of what they did to you, you've had to spend how many days in court now over the last month and a half, 2 months? It is certainly a loss of time. Yeah. It's funny. I'll get comments from just friendly people, and I'm blessed to have these surrounded by people that are great, and they say, "Are you okay?" Because they say, they send emails at 2:30 a.m.
Of course, at 2:30 a.m. Yeah.
Jesse Law is not the chair, and what that's supposed to hurt me. The thing that really kept me. Was my focus was on just being a man that has a great relationship with his kids, being present for them, being right with God on whatever it is I'm doing. Right. And by focusing on these things, I guess it didn't really matter what they said about me.
That's the way you have to live life. I'm 57, and it took me a lot of years to figure that out. And the first thing for me was being right with God, and then being there for your family. Right? And as soon as you have that peace that passes all understanding, that's talked about in the Bible, the rest is gravy, man.
And that's grace, right?
It is grace.
I'm not going to turn your program in that direction.
Why not? I'm not afraid of it. I am not afraid of it.
But it's always like a new. Every day is like a birthday, new experience. If I'm lucky, right? But the newfound experience of grace and knowing what grace is, or knowing that you go through these challenges, but trusting your higher power, your God, that you just sort of like a child, you just say, well, I'm sure this will be okay.
Right.
And by having that trust and that faith and that approach, when I can, because I don't always, but when I walk forward to go do something that I believe is right, I've never held my head high quite like that.
Right.
And
absolutely right.
So yeah, people ask if I'm okay. I've never been better. You know, I'm lucky enough to have gone through hardships that have knocked my head around, taken my head out of my butt, so that I could come up for air and even do just this, where we have a minute to like get to know each other.
Right.
You know? And that's been my experience. So it has been strange. I appreciated the kindness that you gave me in the beginning of the interview. You're like, oh, man of the hour. It's very strange. I didn't set out this year. I set out this year saying, all right, politics is hard. Can I get good quality of life? That was a conversation I was having in prayer.
Right.
No, well, yes.
Is it possible that
well, it was clearly the
right.
prayer was answered because of my attitude, but the answer was peculiar. What you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and you're going to roll in the mud.
Yeah.
And county politics, it's not unique to Clark County to be rolling in the mud.
No,
every county party has their own thing, and it's
yes, they do.
You know, you could play like Old Maid with it. You know, county party that bans members, go fish. You know.
Well, like I said, I've been all over the country in parties and never seen a meeting as smooth as this.
Yeah. Well,
that's some grace right there
so,
in itself.
Again, that's to be honored. I just want to make sure you know the recognition I have that you can also abuse it and lose it, and that's a shame.
Right.
That's a shame. So instead,
and we're going to hold you to it that you don't.
You better.
So,
you better.
You know, that.
I was talking to Kathy Noose, who I can thank as someone who helped organize the
She was
scripting
phenomenal
and the
tonight, man.
elections.
She was honored.
She holds it together. But I was talking to her last night about that, and I was just like, you know those traps that natural man and ego kind of let you fall for? I look forward to those traps that I can just hopefully walk around in.
Well, having been in radio for over 30 years, I know the ego trap big time, and I still fall.
You think I don't like? I like going up there. I you know.
Of course.
I do. I sing, so I like to perform, and I just sort of make fun of myself as a way to like get over the fact that it's an enormous ego. But yeah, just being a reflection of what this organization is going to want to see going forward to me is probably the highest honor that I could achieve. Reading that, answering society, empowering this group that cares enough, that's what we're talking about here. Every decision about that.
And I think that you are the man for the job.
I hope so.
And if I don't wrap this interview up now,
We'll
Johnny Brew is going to kill me.
Okay.
Because we're doing this for his show and my show.
Okay.
But I welcome you to the Rick Charles Show for a long-form interview when we kick it off next month. How about that?
Sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Rick Charles.
Thank you, man. Have a great night. I know it's been a long one for you.
Yeah.
And you probably have a couple of people more you have to see before you even get to go home to your family.
Yeah.
So congratulations on a fantastic kickoff, and congratulations on being the official party of the Clark County Republican Central Committee and being the chairman.
Very good. Thank
Jesse
you, sir.
Law, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
My voice is even going. That never happens. I need water. That's what I need. We'll see you all later.
All right. I mean, first of all, I hate to float my own boat, but this is some great coverage, right? I mean, we are getting some inside information. Jesse Law is very forthcoming, and that is the most he has said regarding the old CCRP and getting his true feelings out there. And, you know, the whole theme is trying to get to unity, but we do have to overcome what has just happened. You know, there are wounds, and the openness. Jesse Law has now been on the Johnny Brew Show twice. I wish some of the old CCRP would come on and we could talk, so that way we could at least understand where you're coming from and get the clarity we want. But great coverage. Thank you, Rick Charles. Great interview. You know, it's funny because I kept getting them to be under 10 minutes, and then I left early as they began the Jesse Law interview, and I wasn't there. But it was a great 20 minutes, and we really, again, got to know Jesse Law, got to know Mike McDonald. Mike McDonald, you know, he's a rock star with the RNC. You know, he knows a lot of people, and he's glad to sit down and let us get to know him a little bit better. And, you know, that means a lot. So if you're a candidate, you're running, please look us up. We'll be glad to have you on. All of you guys need to share. Please. That's the only way we're going to get these message out. That's the only way we're going to get to know people like Tony Lane and Mike McDonald and Jesse Law and Jessica Hanson and, you know, everybody else that I've been interviewing. I really appreciate the support. You guys got to hit the notification bell. You got to hit the subscribe button. All right. Hit us up at the Johnny Brew Show at gmail.com. Common Sense Nevada, the Johnny Brew Show on Facebook. Don't forget about Infinity, the Math Institute, where you don't get more math problems. You get solutions. Look them up at themathinstitute.com or call 702-768-1777. That's themathinstitute.com, or go to YouTube or whatever else there is, Facebook and Instagram or something. Just type in Infinity, the Math Institute. And thank you, everybody, for joining us, whether you're talking about all the people we interviewed or the great work by Rob and by Rick and my beautiful producer. And you guys at home. I'll talk to you guys later. My name is John Brookhagen, The Johnny Brew Show.